Hello and welcome back. We're with Ankit Agarwal from Accel.
Glad to be here.
Sorry?
Glad to be here.
And yeah, you had a great speech about India, how it's expanded significantly in digital growth. My first question really is, what have been the challenges that India had to overcome and find solutions for in the last 10 years to be at this stage?
So basically, a couple of challenges that most of these startups had to overcome was basically one was onboarding the unorganized market which is there. So if you see a lot of startups like Flipkart, Redbus, Swiggy, so basically, so when I'm talking about unorganized market, it is also the small local shops, local businessmen who are running the shops from generations to generations, trying to explain them how online can help them, how them being tech savvy can help them get more businesses. So that was one of the challenges. Other challenge was around some of the infrastructure challenges in terms of payment and logistics. So a lot of these startups have actually, so Flipkart had to build their own logistics setup because they were like, when we are guaranteeing same day delivery or next day delivery, we cannot rely on other third party to do that. So basically they had to set up their own logistics delivery operations inside their company itself. It's called eCart. The third was around building trust because for a lot of people it was the first time that they were transacting online. So how do you build trust? How would they make sure that if I'm ordering a product, it won't be fake? I will get it within a day or two. If I'm making payment right now before transacting, is it okay? So those kind of basically trust issues were there. Safety, security issues were there which need to be solved. So I think those three challenges were something that a lot of these startups actually last 10 years helped solve and set the playground for the future companies to come.
Yeah. I guess access to technology has been a significant factor for India and China even in the last years. Do you see other regions as well, benefiting from this and then actually on the first initial steps to, reach the same or higher levels really? Like Africa, for example.
Yeah. So I think Southeast Asia is, I think, something that even Accel right now we are very closely looking at because we are expecting the next kind of growth to come very similar. How we are seeing in China and India is to be from Southeast Asia currently, and next is what we're looking at is Africa. But not currently. Right now, it's more of Southeast Asia, and a lot of startups in Southeast Asia is what we're looking at.
How do you see some Western ideas actually getting filled in India? Is that a trend, or is it common, or because
is getting what?
Getting some Western ideas. So you mentioned Flipkart, which is probably their major competitor outside is Amazon, right?
Amazon,
Is it pretty common? Like you see these mirror kind of ideas, right, getting implemented in India?
Yeah. So I think the first set of startups who are some of them who actually learn from West startups business models. So we do have a couple of startups. So right now, more than that, I think some of the startups that have actually grown in the last 2-3 years and have also raised significant amount of funding were some of them which actually went about solving very India-specific problems. So it could be like when we're talking about communication app and engagement apps in vernacular languages could be one space. When we're looking at businesses which are trying to build real businesses helping farmers and in agricultural sector would be the next space. And we have companies like AgroStar which are helping farmers do that. And then logistics, we have Blackbuck and a lot of these other companies which are actually trying to solve very India-specific problems and also become billion-dollar companies right now. So
there's a lot of boundaries kind of in the culture and distinguishing like European way, right, in India. Do you see, is it easy or accessible for European companies actually to come to the market and start, their e-commerce idea or their startup? Like India has a lot of unicorns, you mentioned in your speech. So is that something that is possible, or is it pretty hard at the moment?
No, I think it's possible. I think for any company to come, I think boundaries is just in your mind right now, given that you have, it's basically all of them is tech play and you have access to funds. It's more around understanding the local market and trying to address to them instead of just force fitting your own product. And I think once any company is able to do that, they would be able to expand globally. So we have seen companies who have global footprints. We have seen companies who are very dominant in US and other parts of the world, but now in India also they're trying to establish their footprints and gain substantial share in India also, which is basically by understanding local market. Yeah. And from India also companies going out. So when we go out also, we want to understand the local market and try to tweak a product and offering based on what you consumers in that market want. Then just trying to say that, okay, we have this, you buy it if you want to, otherwise leave it. So I think for any company to go anywhere, understanding the core consumer is very important, and I think it's doable once you're able to understand that.
Yeah. What do you think are the kind of key factors or the fuel for the next growth of India's digital kind of scene and then globally as well? Do you see some predictions from your side that is going to help, progress to the next step? You said in your speech that India kind of tends to skip some stages that actually Europe or the rest of the world does in terms of payments. How do you see that? What's the next kind of skipping or
so I think India we've been skipping generations and skipping technologies. You would see that people globally have moved from desktop to mobile. We have skipped, so a lot of the people have not seen desktop and they've directly started using smartphones and phones as such. So even in terms of payment, where globally people move from cash to credit card and card kind of system to mobile payment, in India right now, we see that people have moved from cash to mobile payment directly, and government has done actually a lot in terms of setting the basic infrastructure in terms of India stack to enable this kind of growth which is happening, and companies like Paytm, PhonePe have also enabled that. So I think the market is ready. The next set of growth, I think it's going to be around companies that are so basically, so there are still a lot of categories which are still in very nascent stage. So if you look at even the Walmart Flipkart deal which happened for about $20 billion, online retail is still about 3% to 4% right now of the entire market. There's 96% market unexplored, and people there buy offline about 96% still. Yeah. So that's the kind of potential which is there. If you look at even people buying furniture online, it's about, I think, lesser, or basically looking at remodeling their home, it's about 2% right now, or maybe even lesser than 98% is still going offline. So I think the next set of growth is set. I think those 96-98% getting them on board online, I think that is where the next set of growth will come. And then also reaching out to tier 2, tier 3 market, which is where vernacular language and local language becomes very important to get the next set of growth.
Yeah, you mentioned localization. Is that's kind of a must, right?
Localization is a must, because I think about 200 million English-speaking population are online right now. About from tier 2, tier 3 is where we're expecting the next 400 million people to actually come online, and once they start transacting online, I think it's so about in India right now about 400 to 500 million people have internet access, out of which only 10% people buy things online. Compared to China, it's about 26%, and in US, where 200 million people are online, about 46 to 50% people buy online. So that's the kind of potential which is there in India right now.
There's still space.
Yeah, huge space.
Out of your speech, what are the main takeaways you see that you would like to see people actually, going home or to their business and implementing that?
So I think so a couple of things. So if companies have not started and if there are founders who are looking to start, I think one, try to select a category which has a big addressable market, and the adoption in that category is reasonably high because it becomes faster for you to scale. Second is look out for macro trends. For example, when we're talking about the digital explosion happening in India and kind of smartphones people are starting to use in India, we are seeing that about 60 to 70% traffic on e-commerces are now from mobile, which was not the case 4-5 years back. and about only 30% to 35% of the traffic comes from desktop. So a lot of ways in which you're trying to reach your audiences and your browsing experience and all will change. So keep macro trends in mind. Try to understand customers very well. I think customer insight is a part where I think a lot of early stage founders miss out on. Trying to understand the customers and trying to tweak your product offering according to them is very important.
Out of the eCOM360, some topics that you found from other speakers that were valuable to you and you could recommend, or?
I think one area I think was how Uber is using their machine intelligence and data science. We have a lot of companies actually starting to do that because of the sheer population and the kind of data that we have. Companies actually start collecting in India. But yeah, I think that is one area that we are actually seeing a lot of Indian startups also adopt in terms of how to best leverage data for engagement, retention, and so on. So that was one interesting speech which was out there. And another was how to basically from Lenovo, Ajit was mentioning was basically how do you build a global brand, I think is what is interesting takeaways from there.
Have to agree to those. eCOM360, how are you enjoying your time here?
Yeah, I think it's been a great experience so far. I love this. I'm already in love with the city. It's a very cool city. I think you guys are doing great. In terms of, I think, so you guys have launched Scandi PWA also right now, and PWA is another area where we see a lot of our portfolio companies benefiting from. Either it be Book My Show, Flipkart, Swiggy. I think even LinkedIn in India has implemented PWA. So you guys are doing that also great. And I think in terms of organizing the entire conference, it has been a great experience. And the conference has turned up, I think, really very well.
Very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Nice meeting you. Thanks.